Hey PlayStation fans, today me and Bugs, we are going to be talking to you about the different expansions that you can do to the PlayStation 5. Of course, the PlayStation 5 is not out just as of yet, and of course, Bugs is loving the camera. Now, in the PlayStation 5, there are going to be two different options that you can have when it comes to expanding your hard drive. If you're wondering where Bugs has gone, he's just flown back up to his cage. Now, he didn't want to be on camera today, but the major option that is new with the PlayStation 5 is the new NVMe hard drives that you can purchase. Now, these are not regular SSDs that click into a SATA port. These are totally different. Now with these are very similar to what Apple uses, and some of the options that you have, or at least one of the options, is the Samsung 980 Pro. Now the Samsung 980 Pro is of course an NVMe hard drive, or I should call it an SSD. The speeds, and I want to say that Samsung is probably one of the faster ones. I personally prefer Samsung SSDs versus the others out there. I've had some pretty good experiences with them. And the read times is 7,000 megabytes, so 7 gigs per second, while the write time is 5 gigs per second. Now, why does that matter? You'll probably see on different hard drives, they'll always put the biggest speed, which is usually, in this case, the read speed. It used to be the write speed. They kind of keep on flip-flopping. I used to work at Best Buy. They'll always put the fastest speed on the cover. So make sure you really break that down. And obviously, what that means is the read time is how fast the gaming console is going to read information from that SSD. And writing time is how fast it's able to put information onto that SSD. So when it comes down to it, the read time for gaming consoles would be extremely important, because that's when you're going to be reading information, getting that graphic to put into the game, and things like that. Meanwhile, for people who are trying to watch movies and trying to download movies or trying to download games, that is when the write time is going to be the most important. So keep that in mind. The other option is going to be, of course, a USB style hard drive. Of course, they haven't told us 100% that it's going to work, but the USB hard drives have worked all the times in the past, and I really doubt that they are going to be changing that anytime soon. Of course, faster read and write times are going to be from SATA SSDs that you would stick into a external enclosure that can work on a PlayStation. Now, of course, they should all work, but PlayStation does have the USB Type-C protocol port on there. Now, depending on if it's going to be a USB 3 or 3.1 USB-C style or better, then that is when there's going to be different speeds involved. If you're using the regular rectangular version of the USB, there is really no sense in going to an SSD external. If you're using that 3.1 port, then there may be a big considerable difference when it comes to using an SSD external. However, the NVMe option is something that is going to be a much faster option, but generally more expensive. And I'm going to give you an example right here. This is obviously in Canadian dollars, so that's basically monopoly money to you Americans out there, because our money in Canada is worth pretty much nothing. So take that into consideration, I guess. But anyways, Samsung 980 Pro M.2 NVMe SSD is going to be 250 gigs at $174 Canadian. American, that's probably going to be around $120, $130, somewhere in that range, I would assume. And of course, I would probably not go with a 200 and something gig. I would go as big as you possibly can, because of course games are taking up more and more space, and I would only assume that new games are going to be taking anywhere from 60 to 120 gigs, if not more, per game. So keep that in mind. Also, something else to really consider is the fact that with an M.2 SSD, that's the type of port that the PlayStations are using, to keep in mind that when you are using that type of SSD that you're getting the right type. Because Apple, as an example, uses what they call an M.2 SSD, but it's not necessarily an M.2 into what we would expect it to be. And what I mean by that is they use basically an extra pin or two. That way they can get that extra speed that they always say that they're faster. And of course, their hard drives do work extremely fast. I'm an Apple guy, but I also extremely hate Apple all at the same time. And basically, what that means is you need to really make sure that you're getting an average NVMe M.2 SSD 2280, generally speaking. Anyways, I hope that you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys again next time.